I think you and I have a lot of the same influences. I grew up in the Bay Area, in Berkeley and San Francisco, and so as a pretty young kid, like 7, 8 years old, I was very inappropriately reading the wrong comic books, and I was basically already at like age 7, 8, completely into Robert Crumb
Huh.
and reading Zap and reading the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers and basically everything that was coming out of like Last Gasp and all of the undergrounds in the Bay Area at that time. And those are really huge. Crumb is still to this day, I think, one of the most important comic artists of the last 100 years, or at
Yeah,
least the
sure.
last
No,
50 years.
he's my favorite artist. I was like in middle school when I first saw Robert Crumb and Robert Crumb's artwork. Immediately loved it. I just thought it was perfect. The same with
Yeah,
Gilbert Shelton. The first time I saw some artwork by him, I just loved it. And both me and my older brother were like, "This is the type of work we want to do." We were both still afraid of S. Clay Wilson's comics. They were
sure.
so raunchy that was even too much for us.
Yeah.
As a kid, wanted to. I was mostly inspired by the funnier comics in the newspaper, Peanuts and Beetle Bailey and things like
Hmm.
that,
Sure.
and then Mad Magazine. But when I discovered underground comics, that's when I knew exactly what kind of comic I wanted to do. And then I found out the hard way there
Hmm.
was no money in it, but stuck with that anyway.
But, one of the themes of this whole project is kind of revolves around people who pursue their love of whatever the creative thing is, in spite of the fact that it invariably is not a great way to make money. So, it says a lot about people's priorities, I suppose, that
Right.
doing the creative thing is more important, and the money can follow later. And I
Right.
think that's really critical, you
Well,
know?
that was probably the best advice I'd ever gotten, and it came from Robert Crumb, where he said, "It's always a mistake to try to fit into a pre-existing box. Just follow whatever it is sitting in your head. If you feel like there's just something that has to come out, then you know you're on the right track." And I can remember he
Hmm.
was telling me this at a time when I told him there was a certain type of story I wanted to do, semi-autobiographical, and I was a little embarrassed. I was a little afraid that if I did it, people would put two and two together and say, "Oh, so you did A, B, and C," and then make fun of me for it. And he said, "No, no, that is exactly what you should do." He
Right.
goes, "And just dive into the pool. The water's fine." He goes, "Everybody will follow you. They won't make fun of you. They'll see what you did and say, 'Oh, oh, I did that. I relate to this.'" And
Uh-huh.
that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened where the stuff I was afraid to do is what I should have done. And again, it's just following your own muse. It's always the way to go. It's the best way to go. Prior to that, I would try with no success to bend my work into some pre-existing market, trying to
Right.
please, and it pleased nobody. I wasn't happy with the results. The people whose asses I was trying to kiss, it didn't please them. There was always somebody else doing it better. So there really was no point in trying to fit into a pre-existing.
I think Crumb himself followed a similar path,
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, everything he's best known for is sort of this pouring out of his own id, right? It's
Right.
just like, here it is
Yeah.
on the paper. And if anything, he doesn't get mocked, but he might get criticized, I
Right.
guess. And yet it's so purely honest that,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
does. He says the things that other people only think.
Yes. And he did something that was even when he started doing his own LSD inspired underground comics. There was nothing like it. He was pretty much
No.
inventing something and really exposing even the worst or the most unsavory aspects of his
Yes.
personality. He was just laying it all out there,
Yeah.
like Lenny Bruce style.
Right.
But it was kind of a risk for him because he actually was doing quite well as a commercial artist. He was doing greeting cards.
Right.
But he also knew and he could have kept doing that. He's an excellent artist. Almost everybody is drawn to his drawing style, but he just knew he couldn't always be doing that. He would go nuts if he kept doing that. So he had to follow this other path, which again was at great risk, getting arrested. But it wound up being to the benefit of him and the countless people, including me, who followed him more or
Yeah.
less in his footsteps.